I'm Chaturanga Abesinghe, your host for this special segment on COVID global experiences. COVID-19 has impacted almost every country across the globe as a virus and also an economic and a social problem. Many countries have faced the threat in different ways. The decisions they have made, how the society has adapted to the decisions, and also certain medical and economical conditions have resulted the outcomes that we have seen. But we also know certain countries has been able to manage the virus pretty well. Some countries has been able to manage the economy well, and certain countries has been able to manage both the pandemic and the economy well and still progressing. So as Sri Lanka also, we have moved out of the first phase, progressively ensuring the spread is low, and also that we have started our country for the economy again. For this special segment, we have a special guest from India, Kerala. For this epidemic, they have been cited across the globe as one of the states who has managed this pandemic pretty well. So the stats says they have curtailed the virus within 100 days. To talk about this in detail and tell us and share the experience with us, we have Comrade M.A. Baby from the Communist Party of India. He has been a Minister of Education in Kerala and also a member of the Legislative Committee in 2015. So I would like to welcome Comrade Baby on behalf of the Sri Lankans to share your valuable experience and insight so that we can learn together and fight this pandemic going forward. I'm pretty sure many of you know when you say Kerala where it is located, then it's a part of India. And also it's a very famous tourist destination. I've been there in 2012, and a similar weather to Sri Lanka, similar culture, and also the food is also equally similar. So before we start, I would like to ask you, Comrade, give us a little bit of background about Kerala, because we understand it's a different state and it has distinguished characteristics compared to the rest of the states in India.
I am extremely thankful to you for having provided me this opportunity to discuss in this time of COVID-19 how in the southwestern state of India, Kerala, this pandemic is being encountered by the people under the leadership and guidance of the Left Democratic Front government led by Communist Party of India, Marxist. You have asked me to give you a brief overview about the socio-political peculiarities of the province of Kerala, broadly in comparison to other Indian states. It is well known that Kerala state has a democratic, progressive, secular and inclusive tradition. However, it is also well known that the great spiritual leader Swami Vivekananda, who claimed himself to be a spiritual socialist, once when he visited this part of the world, he was compelled to describe this province as a lunatic asylum. The present political geographic entity of Kerala was not yet formed at those days. But the very cruel practice of casteism, untouchability, the strict law, those days, that so-called backward caste should keep as a predetermined distance from the upper caste Brahmins and various other caste hierarchy. Let us not go into the intricacies of that most inhuman caste discrimination. I have just made a reference to this very sharp, bold criticism made by Swami Vivekananda about the discriminative caste practices which existed in those days in Kerala, only to contrast that with the progress that this state of Kerala made afterwards. Through the work of great social reform movement, left working class agricultural labor movement, and the impact of various other initiatives that the society of Kerala was able to make. Today Kerala, among other Indian states, is generally recognized as a state which is far ahead socially in eradicating caste communal differences. It's widely accepted as a relatively egalitarian society in comparison to other Indian states. Of course, the state of Kerala is within the Indian Union, where different forms of class exploitation still persist. That would definitely reflect in the state of Kerala too. Kerala cannot be an island. But within the limitations, the state of Kerala has been able to achieve many socio-political and economic gains. For example, just for comparison, I would only like to refer to the child mortality rate in India as well as the state of Kerala. In India, out of 1,000 childbirths, 29.9 children die at birth. In Kerala, 993 children survive, they live. Only 7 children die at the time of their birth. It is also interesting to note that the country of Sri Lanka is also almost very close to Kerala. There it is 7.4. The millennium goal has already been achieved by state of Kerala. The same can be said about literacy rate, overall educational standard, the percentage of children who are able to go for higher education. These distinctive achievements Kerala has been able to gain due to a variety of interventions. Here the most important aspect is the social reform movement, which I have mentioned. It's a historical phenomenon. Left movement also played a very important part. Way back in 1957, a government led by Comrade E.M.S. Namboodiripad, an outstanding communist leader, through democratic election, communist government was installed in 1957, though that was dismissed after 2 years with an agitation of all communal reactionary forces. That continues to be a blemish in the history of modern Kerala. And that kind of right reactionary, casteist, communal mobilization happens occasionally in Kerala when left progressive forces make significant gains. In the present day situation of Kerala, library movement, people science movement, rationalist movement, progressive socio-cultural movements, without going into details. These are all important factors. The measures taken by the 1957 government was path-breaking, land reforms, education reforms. Since then, almost for a quarter of a century at different times, governments led by leftist forces with CPIM playing an important role was in office in the state of Kerala. And left progressive forces are very strong presence in Kerala society. Even when occasionally a rightish government take over, that government won't be able to dismantle all progressive steps taken by the leftist government, because among working class, among peasants, among students, youth, women, progressive democratic forces are very much present and they are very vibrant. Therefore, the pro-people policies implemented by progressive government cannot be dismantled. This, in short, is the background of the gains that the state of Kerala has been able to achieve.
A social democracy since 1957, many times. Very interesting political landscape, Comrade Baby. I would like to understand from a Kerala perspective how you curtail this virus within 100 days. And it also refers to me about the epidemic you Kerala managed in 2018 called Nipah, and there's a movie called Virus also. So what is this term called better preparedness? What does it mean? When did you start preparing for this virus first?
It is true that better preparedness is one of the important aspects of the success that Kerala has been able to achieve. The film you have referred to is a widely appreciated film, Virus. Aesthetically, as well as the progressive, socially committed message that the film contains. It is being directed by a friend of mine, Mr. Ashik Abu, who is also very progressive and secular-minded film personality. Unfortunately, even though you are able to view the film, I cannot claim the same. Due to a variety of reasons, I was not able to view this particular film. Anyway, since you have referred to this film, by the earliest opportunity, I would be trying to catch up and get a screening of the film somehow. True, the way in which the society of Kerala confronted and controlled Nipah virus, that also helped us. It was on 31st December 2019 that from Wuhan, the information of this mysterious new coronavirus attack was communicated to the Beijing office of World Health Organization, and they in turn making the formal announcement. As soon as this development was noticed by our government and the health department, health minister convened a meeting of highest officials by the third week of January. Please note that the first coronavirus case in India was reported in Kerala in the district of Trichure by the end of January, I think 30th January. But as though we were able to foresee this possibility, Health Department high power meeting was convened around 20th I think on 18th of January. Date may be this way, that way, change by a day or two. That is not important. State level high power committee was set up by the third week of January. Before any formal case having been identified in any part of India or Kerala. By 24th of January, in the state of Kerala, district level committees consisting of doctors and health service personalities to prepare fully to face the presence of the pandemic. So actually, when the case was reported by 30th January in Trichy, is a medical student who have returned from Wuhan. We were fully prepared. The state of Kerala was fully prepared in every district. How to deal with a patient positively reported. Then how to trace the people with whom he or she had contact. How to bring them under observation and under quarantine. These are all most strategically important steps. Then testing, treatment, isolation. All the related protocol is almost well known in every part of the globe because it's a global threat, pandemic. So through social media and through public media, we are all educated about how to deal with this. The precaution, how to wash your hands, sanitization, then individual hygiene, social hygiene. So, with the experience of Nipah, we were, from health-wise, fully prepared even before in any other state of India, any similar steps were undertaken. It so happened that the first coronavirus case was also reported in the state where the state was fully prepared to face this particular situation. Then we have public health system, perhaps the best public health system available in the entire country. The foundation for this public health system was set up way back in 1957 during the first communist government of the state of Kerala under EMS Namboodiripad. In that government, Department of Health was handled by a renowned doctor himself, Dr. A.R. Menon. He was the health minister in 1957. We have been able to build on the foundation laid by the 1957 government. We have primary health centers in every village, every panchayat. During the present Pinarayi Vijayan government, these primary health centers have been converted into family health centers. This is a very important decision. Above family health center, we have community health center, then taluk hospitals, district hospitals and general hospitals. And invariably every district we have one medical college, or in some districts more than one medical college. So we have a well-knit medical networking up to the village level. Along with this, we have accredited social health activists, ASHA workers. ASHA workers are there throughout the country. But in Kerala, they are given proper training. They are committed activists in the true sense. Then we have the Kudumbashri networking, which is also a women's initiative, neighborhood associations are there for 10, 15, 20 families, poor family, women. They form themselves into area development society. Then just above that they have community development society, CDS. This is a well-knit organizational networking. Using this organizational structure plus the government structure, we were able to communicate with people. Isolation of the positively tested patient and restricting the movement of that patient with society. This is the most important strategic aspect of controlling this. In this, the entire state worked like a well-knit machinery. Every evening, Chief Minister, Health Minister, Revenue Minister and Chief Secretary, they hold press conferences, they answer questions, they brief the entire population of Kerala. In fact, people outside Kerala and outside the country, they also eagerly wait and watch this daily press conference of the Chief Minister of Kerala, giving all fact and figures about the spread of the disease, the steps taken by the government to control the disease. This is being explained by the Chief Minister, and journalists' questions are also being explained. There is no confusion among the minds of the people because everything is transparently explained to different sections of people. Now, apart from dealing with COVID-19, controlling and containing it, and as is known, we all know that the recovery rate in Kerala is highest in the world, 96.04%. Similarly, the death rate is the lowest in the world in Kerala. The death rate in Kerala is 0.6%. This is the latest information. In many countries, those who are above 70, above 80, their death rate is very, very high. Most of them won't survive. There too, Kerala registered a miracle. The state of Kerala, a 103-year-old person was cured after having tested positive. A 98-year-old person also survived in Kerala who tested positive. USA happened to be a very advanced country. They are advanced in many areas. But there is this very interesting case of a US citizen, a professor, who happened to visit Kerala in connection with some official work, and he is a theatre personality also. When his government embassy contacted him after having made arrangements to travel back to United States of America from Ernakulam, he went to the court, High Court of Kerala, to argue that he does not want to go back to United States of America from Kerala. He argued, giving affidavit, that he feels that he is more safe in Kerala, and he requested for his visa extension so that he can safely stay in Kerala rather than going back to United States of America. This has been widely reported in the state of Kerala. While dealing with this COVID-19 in the state of Kerala, the government of Kerala's approach has been widely appreciated, not only for how the threat of this viral pandemic was handled, how other collateral impact in society the LDF government of Kerala addressed. That was also widely discussed. For example, many people from different parts of the country come to Kerala for employment, for work. Some people call them migrant laborers within the country. But in our culture, we consider them as our guests. So Chief Minister and following Chief Minister, all others, all of us, refer to them as guest workers. And it was total lockdown from the third week of March. There is no job. Without job, they don't have any remuneration. And many of them felt like going back to their states, northern states or northeastern states. But for that, there has to be rail traffic. Rail traffic also has come to a halt. Naturally, they were compelled to remain in the state. So government immediately took steps to see that they have safe place to stay, because the people who have been giving them work, guest workers, those who have been working in different construction sites, even in agricultural fields, they were rendered jobless. Due to lockdown, they were unable to go back to their respective states. So the government of Kerala, through the local self-governments, Panchayat Raj institutions, made arrangements to take care of them, to ensure them safe accommodation, treatment whenever and wherever they were tested positive, free food. Of course, there were certain complaints that the food of their taste was not available. We have IAS and IPS officers who are from outside the state of Kerala. You know, in Sri Lanka, you have only 2 different languages widely spoken by people, whereas in India, there are nearly 24 languages spoken by people in different corners. And among the guest workers, there are people speaking so many Indian languages. So we had to deploy, the government of Kerala had to deploy IAS and IPS officers who are from other states, other Indian states, who can speak the language of these guest workers. So such officers, when they were delegated the responsibility to talk to the guest workers being accommodated in different segments, their problems could be easily communicated. They could be given proper guidance as to the steps taken by the government of Kerala in dealing with COVID-19. So this is how the extraordinary situation that the state of Kerala had to encounter was handled in a highly satisfactory manner.
So it's very interesting, and you have been prepared. And the first case of corona reports in Kerala, and for me actually it was like a repeat telecast of that movie, and quite interesting how the government and the social network started working together to even curtail that virus. And I feel it would have been a similar experience this time as well. So as we move on, so one of the main problems we had when we were doing this virus control was the impact of lockdown. So when we do lockdown and reduce human mobility, the economic activities get restricted and people lose income. So there are many parts of the society who are on daily wages and also having daily work, who will lose income, and even certain small industries cannot pay the salaries. What I have learned about Kerala was the first to announce a huge relief package, $270 million, to help the social and economic requirements in need. And can you tell us a little bit about how this decision was made?
One of the most important initiatives of the Kerala government was the 20,000 crore economic stimulus package announced by the government. For the sake of record, no other Indian state made any similar announcement at that point of time. Neither government of India. The state of Kerala set the model how economic intervention is important. Kerala state economy is very small. State also is small. Whenever generally we speak, we in Malayalam say Kochu Kerala means small Kerala. That is the approach. But this was a big economic package, 20,000 crore for a state like Kerala. And also it was a model. Your question is how this economic stimuli package worked. What was the idea? Of this, necessary amount was earmarked for free ration. Over 8.75 million kits were freely distributed. These kits contained essential provisions of daily use. Like in Sri Lanka, in Kerala also we use lot of chili, pulses and many other spices for cooking. 17 or 18 items include in this packet, which was freely distributed. Then social welfare pensions. This was given to nearly 6 million poor people, families. Kerala is a state with maximum section of people are covered by social security arrangements. We know that there are still sections of people who are not covered by this social welfare networking. So during this period of pandemic, it was decided that those who are not covered by any such social welfare networking, they would be provided 1,000 rupee assistance per month, over and above what is being distributed as part of the existing social security provisions. Then around 15,000 crore has been earmarked for payment to institutions and individuals from Government of Kerala. Pending payments. So you can very well understand how this economic stimuli would work. When this 20,000 crore reach people, that will rejuvenate the market. That would ensure the sustenance of marginalized sections of people. Their near starvation conditions among poor people would be met with this assistance that is being extended. So this stimulus package set a model for rest of the country and rest of the world. I don't know whether any other part of the world experienced such a stimulus package announcement before Kerala did. To the best of my information, the state of Kerala led the country and the world in announcing an economic stimulus package during COVID-19 for the first time.
So that's a standard setting. I think that stimulus package would have set standard for the rest of the states and also other countries to understand the real impact, how in a period of lockdown and less economic activity, how would government should intervene to safeguard the lesser privileged community as well as the small businesses in a society. So as I move on, so one of the facts I have picked up is about how Kerala used the social network. How do you bring about the power of the society and social workers and communities together into one unit along with the government to face this pandemic? And the number says that you have a female network, a woman network of 4.5 million across every panchayat or every village in the state. How did the government invite this social solidarity? How did you bring about this enormous power of the society to work with you?
Your reference to the working of Kudumbashree outfit with a membership of around 4.5 million poor women is very important. As I have already mentioned, the role played by Asha workers and Kudumbashree units, all of them are women. It is not only empowerment of women, it is women participating in a big scale at the time of such a pandemic in implementing the proactive policies of the government in containing this contagion and giving protection, safety and succor to the affected people due to the lockdown, because there is no economic activity. The most important contribution made by Kudumbashree is the community kitchen that they have set up and they have maintained. The government and the Chief Minister announced that none would face starvation, none would face hungry, everyone would be fed. This was a great assurance. Not only people were given the assurance and provided with food for their survival, it was also decided and announced that no dogs, urchins or birds should have any problem of shortage of food. Feeding creatures should also be taken care of by society, because COVID-19 assault has given us new insights about the questions related to the relationship between humanity and nature. Human beings are different from nature, but at the same time part of nature, as Karl Marx rightly defined. Some of the accentuation of pandemics like COVID-19, some scientists point out, its intensification could be due to the revenge of nature also. So the relationship with Homo sapiens with nature has to be scientifically anchored and scientifically protected. So some influence of such a scientific understanding was also visible when the Chief Minister said that we should ensure that even stray dogs are being fed and arrangements being made. Kudumbashree outfits played a very important role. Over and above running free kitchen, community kitchen, there were food outlets being opened by Kudumbashree, where meals were provided with a very, very reasonable price, which is 20 Indian rupees. I do not know how you would transform that into dollar, which is unfortunately the common denominator in international money references. It could be almost 1/3 of a dollar, 20 rupees. You can calculate, or maybe something similar. So it's a very, very low-priced food protection arrangement. This is also being managed by Kudumbashree outfits. This ensured that no one goes hungry in the state of Kerala during the total lockdown, when the formal sector, informal sector, everything is being coming to a complete halt.
The connection between human and nature, I think we talk about it, but probably this is a time that everybody will feel that this planet is interconnected and human species need to protect the planet as well. And so with this COVID-19 impacts, it impacts different social sectors and economic sectors differently. So one of the main sectors that we have seen even in Sri Lanka that is impacted are the agriculture, the fishermen, and also daily wage workers. So how did you approach each of these problems, these separate problems, to solve these issues with these special communities during this period?
No doubt, it is very important to make very clear-cut interventions in agricultural sector, because even today substantial section of our society survive on agriculture. The government, as part of facing this crisis generated by COVID-19, after proper homework, declared a very important and ambitious intervention in agriculture sector in a mission mode. It is titled as Subhisha Keralam. Subhisha Keralam can be translated as an initiative for self-sufficiency in food requirements. Due to historic reasons, more than 50% of the agricultural sector in Kerala is cash crop based, like rubber, coffee, tea, cardamom, and so on and so forth. Once this sector constitutes 50% means it's heavily dependent on international fluctuations, international market fluctuations. And international market is not going to get revived in the near future because the impact of COVID-19 is going to last for months together. So what is being planned by government of Kerala is to involve the people of Kerala in a massive agricultural rejuvenation program which is unique. We want to identify every inch of land which can be cultivated, but which is not cultivated now. Of course, there are thousands of hectares of land which can be identified. I myself have, when I was a representative from an assembly constituency, even those days, we have had our own initiatives. I remember in one particular panchayat, we could identify nearly 30 hectares of land in a panchayat, which is a small area in a village, which is cultivable, but which was remaining as uncultivated land. So now, different departments would be coordinating in this Subhisha Kerala mission. Local self-government, Panchayat Raj institutions will have to be in the lead because land identification is very important. Revenue department has to play an important role. Agriculture department will have to play an important role. Here, agriculture department would be making an investment of around 1,500 crore. Fishery also comes as part of agriculture, though it's a separate department other than agriculture. Fishery, fish cultivation is very important. Dairy department also comes. Then animal husbandry department also comes. These four departments together, we have earmarked 3,860 crore investment. If we are able to rejuvenate the agricultural sector by identifying every uncultivated portion of land to convert those areas into cultivable land. We even give the idea of terrace cultivation, balcony cultivation. Lot of government guest house land, the building would occupy a part of it. Rest of the area remains protected area for snakes and some wild creatures. This is a fact of the matter. So this has been a matter of serious discussion. In a cabinet itself, it was explained. So this massive program is being announced. With this, Kerala won't be food self-sufficient because that is not practical. But to a great extent, there would be a revolutionary change in food cultivation and its yield in the state of Kerala. This COVID condition is compelling us to change some of our attitude. So this, we hope, would be one new Kerala model, which in the times of COVID would give us a new realization. This is a challenge. We would be able to transform it into a possibility.
It's very interesting to note that the agriculture, the fisheries and farming all working together as one interconnected department, and that the state has given a stimulus package to uplift these communities and economic activities going forward. Let me take another aspect of this COVID-19. So we have seen COVID-19 has been dealt in different communities in different ways. So both Kerala and Sri Lanka, we have a diverse population in terms of religious and cultural. And also we've seen before COVID how India has been on a large racial discussion about the Citizens Act. Did you had any difficulties managing these communities and a rise of certain racist aspects whilst trying to manage this with rules and regulations?
It is true that unfortunately the situation which demands all sections of people to come together, transcending communal, casteist and religious divisions, even narrow division of political differences. Some sections of people are unwilling to realize this. For example, we hear in North India, some of the states, COVID infected people are divided on caste communal basis. Untouchables are being kept in some wards and high caste people are kept in some other wards. Still more horrifying is the fact that on communal lines, Hindus and Muslims are divided into different wards. These are all absolutely shocking. There is also another instance of a particular religious congregation, and the fact that even though the problem of COVID-19 was known and physical distancing regulations were in force, without listening to those restrictions on the religious festivity occasion, thousands of people gathered in a particular place in Delhi, which was unfortunate, which was wrong. It is also a fact that gave the spread of the disease an easy opportunity. That needs to be criticized, no doubt. But there were sections to give a communal angle to this entire incident. And this particular religious community was projected as those who are spreading this COVID-19 deliberately. They were not having that congregation deliberately to spread this particular disease, COVID-19. No. Due to their ignorance, they held their religious congregation. That needs to be squarely criticized, no doubt about that. But some sections with motivated intentions try to utilize this to spread the communal virus among people, that on religious grounds these people are spreading COVID-19. We have to spread scientific temper to encounter COVID-19. The importance of science and rationality comes to our mind during the times of COVID-19. Indian Constitution demands, a particular section demands, that Indian citizens are duty bound to spread scientific temper among people. We should be science oriented. We should not go after superstition. This is what, as citizens committed to Indian Constitution, what we are expected to do. Unfortunately, some sections of people are trying to spread communal virus during the times of this coronavirus. And unfortunately, the ruling dispensation, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which is ideologically controlling the powers that be today, they are basically responsible for communalization of Indian society, and left and progressive secular forces are conscious about this threat, and we are not leaving any stone unturned in this struggle against communalism and also the struggle to propagate scientific temper among all sections of society.
So the pre-COVID and post-COVID, I think post-COVID the societies has to unite. If as nations, as societies, if everybody want to come out of this crisis, all these differences has to be mitigated. Then there is another difference in every country, especially in the Asian countries, about the political parties and political differences we have. So in a time of a crisis, the general expectation of the society is for the ruling parties and the oppositions to get together and work towards the betterment of the society. Sometimes it's felt the opposition is also criticizing the government actions when they are also highlighting the facts. Sometimes people also feel it's criticism, and also at the same time the government also does not sometimes try to get the strength of opposition political parties. In the state of Kerala, did you approach your counterparts, or how did you use this the opposition political leverage that they also have amongst the society?
Keeping the opposition forces along with the overall common task of the people as a whole is a very, very important democratic responsibility. Opposition has every political right to criticize those who are in power, considering the Indian constitutional dynamics, how much power is concentrated in Delhi, and whether there is any actual ruling power available to a provincial government, a state government. I mostly would always refer that we are in office in a state and power lies with the center. But even when you are in office in a state, you have certain powers, though the central government most of the time don't permit you to exercise those powers. But here the difficulty is that from center, that is government ruling from Delhi, they create problems for the provincial government or the state government. And the opposition forces in the political process, they also create problem from their side. That is what is happening in the state of Kerala today. We have a rich tradition of working in a democratic process. As part of that, we always try to take the opposition political party into confidence when we make every initiative, especially when earlier the present LDF government of Kerala had to face successively two massive devastating floods. Then before that, there was the Oki tragedy. Then there was the viral attack of Nipah. Almost every year, the present LDF government of Kerala had to face wraths of nature in different forms, in the form of natural calamity or in the form of Nipah viral attack, now COVID-19 attack. Each of these times, the opposition in Kerala displayed their inability to work as a responsible opposition. Without going into details how they have created problems, the latest instance only I would like to recall. Kerala is now moving through a very critical and challenging situation where we are receiving Keralites from abroad as well as from other Indian states. There is a widely accepted protocol. Those who are positively tested for COVID-19, the present protocol is that they should remain where they are and they should continue their treatment. Movement from one place to another is within a country or internationally is permitted only when a person is not positively tested for COVID. Only those who are negatively declared with regard to COVID infection, they can undertake a travel. For that, the test has to be done. Pass has to be obtained. This is the well-established international protocol. But elected representatives of Congress party, which is the opposition in Kerala, they are going to Kerala entry points and creating scenes that without pass people should be admitted and allowed to pass. And the latest information I have while coming for this interview is that one such person who was forced by these members of parliament belonging to Congress party to gain entry to Kerala has been tested positive for COVID. Now these members of parliament of Congress who were physically escorting this COVID positive patient, they also have to go for observation, quarantine. And they are playing with fire without any sense of responsibility. So COVID-19 tells us that each one of us should be responsible not only to ourselves but to others also. This basic principle is being forgotten, unfortunately, by the opposition in Kerala. But I will never ever blame the entire opposition in the country like this. For example, even though I have my political ideological differences with Mr. Shashi Tharoor, who happens to be the member of parliament from Trivandrum, he is not taking such suicidal and atrocious, obnoxious position. He stated that the government of Kerala is doing a wonderful job, and as a member of parliament, he is trying to cooperate with the government of Kerala. He did not so far uttered anything negatively against the work of the Kerala state government led by Pinarayi Vijayan. Similarly, I do have very serious differences with Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who happens to be a member of parliament from Kerala. He won from Wayanad. He openly stated that Kerala government is doing a very good job. At some point of time, there was no COVID positive cases in the district of Wayanad, his constituency. He was very happy about that. But now there is some change of situation. And this situation can change any day. The question, how opposition is taken into confidence in Kerala in the activities. Yes, the Kerala government is trying its level best to take Kerala opposition into confidence. But the Kerala opposition is trying its level best to do things negatively, which is suicidal for them. Literally, Literally it is suicidal. So far as confronting this pandemic, COVID-19 is concerned, it is suicidal for the state of Kerala. It is suicidal for each one of them individually when they play with fire like this.
We are now coming to the latter part of our conversation, Comrade Baby. So there are about two more questions for you. This is about how we move forward, and it's no doubt that this virus will be here with us for some time, probably a year or two, and both Sri Lanka and Kerala has curtailed the initial pace well. So we have to move forward from here. But as we move forward in terms of thriving our economies, there are chances that the economic conditions will thrive very hard or push too much and extract more natural resources or exploit more labor and try to do the things that they missed out for a while, making repercussions on the environment and the people. How would Kerala or the state of Kerala engage with this activity? How would you safeguard the every right of everyone, so when we move out of this pace of isolation?
It is very important how we are going to deal with issues related to development in the post-COVID-19 times. Already we see certain legislative changes which central government may now come forward with, but some of the North Indian state governments, especially BJP state governments like in UP, they have already shown their intentions. Working hour has been enhanced from 8 to 12 in many states. Hard-won rights of working class, for which they had to engage in strenuous struggles with great sacrifices, exploiting the COVID-19 situation. Encroachments are being made on such working class rights. You are right. There is the possibility of using this to more cruel exploitation of working class in their urge for profit maximization. But I don't think working class would face this without any resistance. There would be massive resistance coming from working class when such efforts are being made. Another danger is more unscientific exploitation of natural resources for profit maximization. Here I am reminded of Karl Marx in Capital 1. There he discusses what happens when capitalist factors determine agricultural production. Marx says, I recall from my memory, feeble memory, capitalist agriculture would develop only by undermining two primary sources of all wealth, earth and human labor. So here Marx says, the primary source of entire wealth is either earth and human labor. Capitalist agriculture develops by undermining both that is unscientific exploitation of natural resources and human labor. This would be one path which exploiting classes, ruling classes would follow in the name of dealing with the problems generated by COVID-19. We, the democratic forces, will have to be ever vigilant to see that such destructive policies will not be permitted, and this can be prevented only by building massive alliance of working class peasants and all other toiling masses in our society.
Comrade Baby, as we move forward, so there are different approaches different countries take in terms of post-COVID and how they will come out of this situation. And we are also seeing certain differences between countries with socialist ideologies and countries with capitalist ideologies. In your view, moving from where we were before COVID and after COVID to create a society with more equity and justice, and in terms of bringing everybody up out of this crisis, do you think these political ideologies will make a difference?
In international media, this question has been widely discussed. We all know that socialist countries with differences due to obvious reasons, but in facing COVID-19, they have a strategic approach, a pro-people approach, and these tasks have been addressed by society as a whole. Cuba is the best example how a model socialist society would face a pandemic like this. Not only they are able to internally address the threat posed by COVID-19 in a highly effective manner, their doctors, health workers, they are willing to go to any part of the globe to extend their assistance and solidarity, as well as their expertise in dealing with pandemic. The population of Cuba is half of the population of Sri Lanka and 1/3 of the population of my state, Kerala. It is 11 million. But I think nearly 19 countries, Cuban doctors and health workers are presently working to face the problems created by this pandemic, COVID-19. Vietnam also is showing a wonderful example. I understand that the latest issue of The Economist, one of the most outstanding journals in the world, of course, quote unquote, there are limitations. It's not a progressive journal, but they are very professional with its weakness. Anyway, that's a different matter. They have published an article comparing the achievements of Vietnam in fighting COVID-19 and the achievements of the state of Kerala, Indian state of Kerala, in facing COVID-19. I don't speak much about North Korea because a lot of information is not available. But there are no reports of COVID-19 pandemic affecting North Korea also. South Korea also is facing it, though two different systems, but they are able to face this. The most important aspect of how progressive democratic governments, whether it's a socialist country or whether it is a provincial government like that of Kerala, the most important aspect is the role of people, how people are involved in this struggle against COVID-19. And we can very well compare it with United States of America, Brazil, Bolsonaro and Donald Trump, both of them are handling this situation almost similar lines. Donald Trump says that we cannot continue the lockdown like this because the entire US economy would come to a standstill. When we withdraw the lockdown, some people may die. That's okay. But most important thing is reviving the economy. Look, we should also recall at this point of time, when we discuss this particular topic, that it was United States of America and their allies like Israel who developed a bomb like neutron bomb. The present generation may not remember the importance of neutron bomb. The importance of neutron bomb, that it will only kill human beings, it will not destroy buildings constructed and all that. So material wealth can be protected with neutron bomb. Only human being will be killed. What a monstrous idea. So this is what is capitalism. So COVID-19 also gives us an opportunity to compare how different social systems would deal with this. Of course, I should make a reference about China also. We can have our own reservations about some of the policies of China. There are thinkers like Zizek who, without any reservation, air their views about Communist Party-led countries where they find something wrong according to their own assessment. But the fact of the matter is the way in which COVID-19 was contained and controlled in People's Republic of China. Nobody can dispute their ability to deal with a pandemic situation. They have to explain how this originated in Wuhan, or this has originated from somewhere else and Wuhan was a secondary center. The available information says that it started in Wuhan. So they will have to make certain explanations. They have already explained that as soon as it was known as a pneumonia-type SARS similar health problem, serious health problem, severe acute respiratory syndrome, that is the full form of SARS. They reported it to World Health Organization. That's what they say. They say that there was no delay from their part, and without they themselves testing and ascertaining what is the nature of this disease, they cannot report. That also we have to concede. So certain accusations against China are unfounded, which already has been established in international, narratives from different angles. But nobody can dispute that how effectively they have handled COVID-19 once they recognize the genetic structure and things like that. Whatever their research scholars found out, they passed on that information to World Health Organization also in no time, which is also public knowledge. It is in public domain. It is available. So, when different systems encountered this COVID-19, now we have very clear idea how a profit-driven society handles a pandemic like this. Another very important aspect we have to recognize here is that the basic theory of extreme capitalism. What is that basic theory? State should not intervene. Government should not have any role. Reagan started with saying that government is the problem. Government should step aside and leave everything freely to the market and capital. Capital and market should determine everything. Do they say so now? Now everywhere, willy-nilly, directly or indirectly, governments are compelled to come into the picture. So, to face pandemics like COVID-19, you cannot leave things to the market forces. Leaving everything to market forces is one of the root causes for such pandemics spreading like wildfire. This also has been proved by COVID-19.
This is an enormous amount of knowledge and wealth of experience you are sharing, and I am really grateful to you and also on behalf of our audience for sharing these valuable thoughts with us. And at last, but for not for the least, what would be your message to all the Sri Lankans and rest of the world as we end this very interesting conversation, Comrade Baby?
How would you sum up your experience of COVID-19? And what is the message that we should share from this collective experience of confronting COVID-19? I think we don't know yet what all havoc COVID-19 would cause for humanity. As per the studies available so far, when some 7,000 odd COVID-19 patients were studied in some European country, the COVID-19 virus structure in this over 7,000 patients had shown different types of COVID-19, nearly 200 different types of COVID-19. That means this is a highly treacherous virus. It keeps changing itself very fast. Not fully, its genetic structure, its intricacies are modified within a short span of time. So even when we develop some treatment, some medicine, and parallel to that, even when we develop certain vaccines, with its own modification, self-modification, self-transformation, that medicine or vaccine would be rendered ineffective, useless. That possibility also is there. So some scientists say that this is going to stay with us for a longer period. So it can be very disastrous. It can have many ramifications. Maybe with a controlled spread of this virus and controlled containment of this virus, herd immunity, group immunity may develop sooner or later. We know 1 century ago what had happened, the wrongly called Spanish flu. That continued for almost 3 years. So, COVID-19 can also remain for 3 years. Maybe for a lesser period, maybe for a longer period. We don't know. So, how would we face the post-COVID-19 period is a question which can be premature. Now we are asking that question and trying to find a reply. But indeed this question is relevant today because now it is there. So we can ask the question, what we should do, maybe after 1 year or maybe after 2 years or 3 years, whatever. We have to do something because humanity should continue, would continue. That is what we hope. Without any doubt, we have to come to the conclusion that human beings should recognize the fact that nature may react to us with a revenge. This we should realize now. We are not a super species above rest of the species. We are very fragile. We are now shivering before an invisible entity, which in fact do not have life. Virus do not have life. Virus will acquire life from a living organism. Only when a virus come into contact with a living organism, it can obtain life. These are all things which we have started learning now. We might have studied in our school textbooks. But with our life and death struggle now we are realizing this. So we have to be more considerate to our fellow human beings. We have to be more considerate to our nature. This is a big lesson COVID-19 is teaching us. So, the mad way in which we are moving, profit over people, as Noam Chomsky summarized. The extreme capitalist value is make profit, more profit. What is the meaning of this millions and millions of profit you make? What extra life pleasure you can have from that? We should ask this question. So what is important is creating an egalitarian society and creating a society where there is this rhythmic relationship with nature and human beings. Human beings are part of the nature. Only if nature is there intact, only if nature is there healthy, human beings also could be healthy. You cannot have individually healthy. If the society is not healthy, you cannot be individually healthy. This is also a big lesson. COVID is trying to teach us. COVID is not consciously teaching us. COVID does not have a brain. But COVID is indirectly trying to teach us. But those of us who have brain, but we behave like brainless people, unfortunately. So brainy people should reflect upon what is happening in the universe, in the world. What is the relationship between human beings and the nature? So, you have to develop a society meaningful within itself. A non-Marxist like Pope Francis, he said that in the post-COVID society, we should be able to reduce inequality. That is what he said. Will Donald Trump and Bolsonaro and Narendra Modi and Erdogan would recognize that the future COVID-19 world should be more equal, less unequal? Will they say so? No. So they would like to have the domination of capital. Capital is extracted from human beings and nature, this earth. Capital getting a domination over human beings and nature, it is wrong. We have to recognize that. So the extreme capitalist path of development, quote unquote, needs to be buried to nurture life in this beautiful planet. This is the great message we should be able to draw from the COVID-19 experience. Thank you.
It is indeed a great message. I think humanity should coexist with nature. Probably we would have forgotten certain things, and we have forgotten about the environment. We have forgotten about the inequalities. We would have forgotten about certain communities in our society. So post-COVID, the whole society should learn and coexist with nature and rest of the world. As we end this very interesting conversation, I would like to thank Comrade Baby on behalf of the audience and also a great learning experience for me personally as well as everybody who's listening. This is a learning period for all of us. We will learn from each other and we will become better humans and better societies and better individuals as we go forward. Thank you and see you again in another segment of COVID World Experiences.